Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, all of those, it's my weekly wrap-up. So this is actually a bit more than a week because it's the 12th, I think. Yes, the 12th of December today. I didn't do, so last weekend, rather than doing a weekly wrap-up, I did my November wrap-up. So I've got the week that's just gone, plus a couple of days before that, of books that I was reading at the start of December. Now, one thing I need to remember to do, the legendary saintly, I was thinking of Stately Vaughan Manor, I think, saintly Steve Donahue, keeps on telling me off for not showing the books properly in my videos, so for waving them around in the air. And when I was editing a video yesterday, I have to say I did notice that I do tend to gesticulate a lot with my hands, which means the books get waved about all over the place and aren't very easy to see. So I'm going to try, as I go through the books I've read, to hold them nice and still, so that Steve's aging eyes can pick up the covers properly. Right, so let's go. So this is in no particular order, just in the order that they are piled up on my desk. So the first one then is Edge Book 11, Sue Uprising, by George G. Gilman. So this is, as the title, or as what I've just said would suggest, so it's the 11th book in the Edge series, which is a fantastic series of quite brutal westerns written in the 70s by a guy called Terry Harknett, who went under the pseudonym George G. Gilman, about this character called Edge, who's a half Swedish, half Mexican kind of, I don't know, he's not, cowboy is the wrong word, because basically he's just, he's in the Old West and he's trying to do everything he can to survive, and the books are incredibly violent and incredibly entertaining in my opinion as well. So this one, as the title suggests, the local indigenous Americans, the Sioux tribe, are kind of attacking the white settlers, and you know, this book does come with a warning in that sense. Its depiction of indigenous peoples is not great. Some of the previous books in the series, I have to say, have done a much better job. But in this one, you know, the Sioux definitely are demonised, and that's, you know, clearly that's not good. But the book is very entertaining if you can get past that, and it has an absolutely fantastic ending. So the book is about, so it starts, and this is a minor spoiler for previous books in the series, but starts with Edge getting married, and then his wife, his new wife, is kidnapped by these Sioux braves, and the rest of the book is Edge trying to find her and get her back. And the ending is just absolutely phenomenal. It's got this brilliant twist ending that puts the whole of the rest of the book in a completely different light, and I absolutely loved it. It blew me away. My jaw literally dropped open when I got to that point in the book. Brilliant stuff. Next up, another pulpy one. So this is Night Kill, which is the 124th book in the Executioner series. So it says Don Pendleton on the cover. It was actually written by, I'm going to have to look inside because I can't remember. It was actually written by a guy called Mike Newton. So I have done a separate video on this, but this is Mac Bolan, the Executioner, who's fighting a one-man war against all things terrible in America. It's him up against Satanists. So this was written at the time of the Satanic Panic in the 80s in the States. And it's a really entertaining concept. So basically there's this heavy metal band touring around America, and whatever city they play in, a young woman ends up dead the next day. And it turns out there's this group of Satanists going around with them, sacrificing these young women to Satan, and Mac Bolan is on their case, trying to investigate and stop them. It's got a lot less action in than I would have hoped, and less horror kind of type stuff than I would have hoped, but it's actually reasonably well written for this kind of thing. There's a lot of good background info in there. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars. Not brilliant, but it didn't live up to its promise, I think, but it was still a good read. Okay, next up, more kind of pulpy stuff, but horror pulp this time. So this is The Master by Guy and Smith, which I did a buddy read of with the fantastic One from Plagued by Visions. Again, this one was a bit of a letdown, to be honest with you. It's not as good as the rather fantastic cover would suggest, and it's, I don't know. So it's about a kind of posh boarding school in Scotland, in the Highlands of Scotland, which is run by this headmaster who's a complete bastard, basically. And the whole kind of ethos of the school is to make the kids, and I say kids, they're all kind of sixth form age, so, you know, kind of 16, 17, 18, that sort of age. It's to make them as tough and resilient as possible. So he makes them go on hikes across the moors and stuff like that. But yeah, plot twist, he's also worshipping this satanic corpse thing. I can't even really describe it. He was a previous master of the building that it's that the school is now in. And again, like the Bolan book, it involves sacrifices and all sorts of weird goings on. But I've read a few Guy and Smith books, and they're all terrible, but most of them at least have some decent violence in. This didn't at all. It was quite dull, to be honest with you, a lot of the time. That the high point was a bit where one of the like prefects gets out this tin and opens it up, and it's full of what he claims are foreskins from kids at the school who've been caught masturbating by the headmaster and been circumcised as a result. So yeah, that was the high point of the book. So yeah, not a great one. I think that was a 2-star one from me. Right, continuing with the horror theme, let's do a horror one. So this is The Children God Forgot by Graham Masterton. So this was in the November Abominable Book Club box, and this was really good fun. So it's completely crazy. It starts with this woman getting taken into hospital, not realising she's pregnant, and then finding out, because she's got stomach pains and things, finds out she's pregnant. They deliver the baby, but it's this horrific monster with an angelically beautiful face and a body that's kind of a bit like an octopus. It's it's very strange. I discovered it's actually the second book in the series, and I do have the first book on my Kindle. I just haven't read it yet. But they can be read independently of each other. So the continuing theme is that there's these two cops who investigate what's going on here, and also some kind of related stuff. So there's a load of stuff happening in the sewers as well. So there's another character in the book who is like a sewer engineer in London, and one of her colleagues goes missing. So the cops are investigating both that and this mysterious birth, and they are kind of like a Mulder and Scully type couple. So in the previous book, they investigate other kind of supernatural goings on. So yeah, it was really fun. Bits of it are jaw-droppingly crazy. It's quite well plotted. It keeps moving at a decent pace. And the thing I really liked about it was it gives a really what felt like a really accurate depiction of like modern multicultural London. So there's characters of all different creeds and races and things like that in here. There's loads of detail about different kind of like ethnic shops and things like that you get in London. So it just all hangs together really well. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading the first one. Right, another horror. So I have done a video on this, which is up already. So this is Goosebumps Deep Trouble, the first Goosebumps book I've ever read, which was a lot of fun. So it's quite silly. I mean, it's a kid's book, so it's going to be silly. It's about a young guy, a kid, who I think he's 12, and he's got a younger sister who's 10. He's called Billy, and they are staying on their uncle's boat. Their uncle is like a marine biologist, and Billy keeps on thinking he's seen a sea monster, and you never really find out if he did see a sea monster or not. And then there's mermaids and stuff like that in it as well. So it's entertaining, very fast paced, not at all scary, and I don't think it's even really trying to be scary. But quite inventive and enjoyable, quite funny at times, and it certainly kept me reading. I mean, I read it in probably an hour and a half, but yeah, it was a good fun read. Okay, next up then. So this one I finished yesterday. So this is Dearest by Peter Loughran. So I did a review of one of Loughran's other books, The Third Beast, a while ago. And this is his first novel, so this is more of a horror novel. The Third Beast was kind of a crime novel. It's a very strange and unsettling book, and I'm going to do a full review of it. So I won't get into too much detail here, but basically it's about a guy. So the narrator is a guy who's a taxi driver who's got very strange views about women and male-female relations, and who falls in love with this woman called Jackie. And in fact, in other countries, this book was published in quite a few different countries. The book is called Jackie rather than Dearest. He falls in love with this woman, but she's, to be honest with you, a bit of a nightmare. And eventually he kills her, which isn't really a spoiler to say that, because it's kind of foreshadowed earlier in the book that she dies. And then after that, it takes a very, very strange turn indeed. Yeah, it's interestingly written. It's got loads of kind of weird asides and things like that from the narrator, but it kind of works. But it's also got one of the most horrific scenes I've read for a long time in a book, which really sent chills down my spine and made me feel quite nauseated. It's quite an incredibly horrible scene. So yeah, it was a 4-star read for me overall. I really did enjoy it. Yeah, definitely one that's worth looking out for. And then finally, my favourite book of the week and a half, Dead City by Shane Stevens, which again I've done another video of, which I will link to. This is just brilliant. So a fantastic 70s crime novel about the mob in New Jersey, particularly about kind of two guys who are trying to work their way up the ladder, who are kind of enforcers. Just absolutely brutal. Very disturbing at times, incredibly bleak. The ending in particular is just gobsmackingly bleak and depressing. But yeah, an absolutely fantastic read. And another book like Dearest, which sadly is out of print now, but well worth finding a copy if you can. So that was a lot of pulpy, horror, trashy, crimey type stuff. So I'm now reading something a bit more serious. And a bit more literary, so reading Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I'm only up to, I think, the 2nd or 3rd chapter, but I'm really, really enjoying it so far. It's got a great pace to it. It's really entertaining. So this is a big historical novel. It's, how many pages? It's 800 odd pages. Oh no, 650 pages. First in a trilogy. I've got the other 2 books as well, so I'll be reading those at some point. But yeah, so far so good. Really enjoying this. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know if you've read any of these books. I know a few people on here have read Wolf Hall, but if you've read any of these ones as well, do let me know. And yeah, I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and I will speak to you again soon. Cheerio.